There was another blow delivered to the Biden administration with the release of a poor inflation report that showed consumer price growth spiked in May. The Labor Department's Consumer Price Index rose 1% last month alone and 8.6% in the 12-month stretch ending in May. But Biden on Friday stressed that he is sympathetic to the impact of high inflation on families. During a press conference, Biden stated, "I understand Americans are anxious, and they're anxious for a good reason. Inflation is a real challenge to American families." What are your thoughts on this, everybody? Will President Biden finally do something for the American people and help people out with stimulus checks this year? So I believe that President Biden, everybody, can do more for the American people with stimulus checks. $700 stimulus payments have officially been approved by lawmakers. These checks will only be going out to a new targeted group of Americans, including those that are experiencing financial difficulties right now. More pressure is now on Congress to approve a fourth round of checks. Schumer is already proposing a new plan, and it was announced that the West Liberty City Council voted unanimously to move forward with a plan to distribute $700 stimulus checks to city residents that were previously excluded from the crisis relief. The plan would use $147,000 in local American Rescue Plan funding, which was allocated to states, cities, and counties to provide economic assistance for households negatively impacted by the crisis. A formal resolution is expected by June 21st, and the two city councilors argued for larger checks of $1,400, saying they plan to continue advocating for bigger checks up to the formal resolution. Now, it is really great to see that some lawmakers are finally taking action for the American people. West Liberty will become the second city of Iowa and one of the few cities in the country to set up a direct payment program using a portion of its American Rescue Plan funding. The state of Maine has also started sending out stimulus checks. Maine sent out its initial wave of $5,000 checks and $50 each on June 1st, and intends to send 200,000 checks per week in the future. According to the Maine governor, the state stimulus was signed to law as part of the state's budget surplus in late April. In a new announcement, the governor said the budgets of so many hardworking Maine people have been stretched to the brink of inflation. And while we cannot control inflation or global markets, we can make sure that Maine people have what they need to grapple with these rising costs. Through hard work, Democrats, Republicans, and Independents come together to do what is right for the Maine people. I hope this will provide at least a measure of relief for people during these tough times. Now guys, I believe it's a good idea for President Biden to do this and send out more stimulus checks, for sure. If you guys agree, tell me in the comments down below.
Too long, our nation's veterans have faced an absurd indignity. They enlisted to serve our country, went abroad in good health, and came back only to get sick from toxic exposure endured while in the line of duty. As many as 3.5 million veterans have been affected by burn pits since 9/11. Yet, approximately 80% of all disability claims connected to burn pits have been rejected by the VA. So many of our veterans have been fought by the VA after they fought for us as they tried to get health care benefits. Many of them had to hire lawyers just to prove their illnesses and then do a complicated legal dance to show what everyone knew, that toxic exposure from burn pits caused all kinds of cancers and other diseases. That was so wrong. The indignity, the callousness of forcing veterans who got sick as they were fighting for us because of exposure to these toxins to have to fight for years in the VA to get the benefits they deserved, well, that will soon be over, praise God. To these American heroes who have carried on without the benefits they deserve, I have one thing to say: no more. Today, the Senate finally takes action to right this profound wrong. The PACT Act will finally change outdated rules at the VA that have been in effect for far too long, that prevent our veterans from getting the care that they need. The care they need to treat the health complications that caused by burn pits. It will expand eligibility for VA medical care to make sure veterans get the help they need. And there's even more good news in the PACT Act. It's not just about burn pits, as important as they are. The PACT Act will expand coverage of health issues exacerbated by Agent Orange, which over the years I have strongly pushed for in this chamber. I want to give deep thanks to Senator Tester and Moran, who worked for months to push this bill over the finish line. Their leadership on this issue has been extraordinary. I want to thank my colleagues. This is another bipartisan action that is accomplishing something very significant. And I want to thank my colleagues from both sides of the aisle who supported the bill through its consideration. And most importantly, I want to thank the many veterans, the veteran service organizations, advocates like John Stewart and John Field, who never gave up on making this change happen. Because of their advocacy, our veterans will finally get the dignity and care they rightfully deserve. If you want to take the measure of any nation, look no further than the way it treats those who sacrificed everything in the line of duty. Today, the Senate is making sure we treat our heroes the way our heroes deserve to be treated, with dignity, with gratitude for everything they've done to protect our way of life. Gone are the days when veterans will have to struggle to prove and fight to get benefits that they deserve. I thank my colleagues for their work and urge all of us to vote yes on this long overdue legislation. Now let me talk about something that just happened in Judiciary Committee. As we await the completion of the gun safety bill, there's another step the Senate will take today to protect our communities from gun violence. We can move to confirm Stephen Dettelbach as the director of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. I want to thank Senator Durbin and the Judiciary Committee for moving this nomination expeditiously. And later today, I will move to discharge the nomination of Mr. Dettelbach from the Judiciary Committee after his nomination resulted in a tie vote. Based on his record and qualifications, Dettelbach unquestionably deserves bipartisan support. But either way, he's going to move forward. The ATF has not had a permanent director since 2015. So confirming Mr. Dettelbach is one of my top priorities before the end of June. We need a fully functional, fully staffed ATF in order for that agency to fulfill its mission of keeping our communities safe from gun violence. Obviously, the legislation we're talking about and is being negotiated is very important, but so is having a fully functioning ATF. It is critical we have a fully functioning, fully staffed ATF for the agency to carry out its mission of protecting our communities from gun violence, and what they do is very, very important. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it's not noticed, but their ability to deal with gun traffickers and so many others who poison our streets with illegal guns that take the lives of our children, the ATF is essential in stopping that, curtailing it. And having a strong, qualified nominee like Mr. Dettelbach will certainly help reduce the scourge of gun violence in this country, particularly because the ATF has not had anyone at the helm since 2015.